no, episode 4, I think we're at. Episode 4, he said, she said, and a juicy one tonight.
Indeed. Yes, you were the one last time that said you wanted to do this because of this article that I wrote a while back concerning what I titled 50 Shades of Wishful Thinking. and me and you got on the conversation of 50 Shades of Grey and that you had read them. And so it just, you know, hey, we'll use bait link, whatever.
I thought about you because I was, as you know, I was just away on vacation. And when I got back, you know, first thing first is to, you know, go to the grocery store. And unbelievably enough, I thought I'll pick up a magazine to read. I haven't just flipped through a magazine. And I swear there was a magazine called 50 Shades.
Just I'm not kidding.
I'm looking at, I pick it up, I'm looking at the side, I'm trying to figure out, is this just an article in it? I almost bought it, but I just couldn't do it. It is an entire...
Because you knew I would give you shit for it?
Completely. But it was an entire magazine devoted to 50 Shades of Grey followers. I swear. It exists. An entire magazine. So, I mean, it's clearly become the, you know, midlife phenomenon of the summer.
I've been mesmerized as a dude by that whole deal. I mean, let's be honest, all right? The romance novels don't really get the best rap anyway. Right. It's kind of reserved for the middle-aged single woman with too many cats. So when this one came out and it took off, I'm just like, what is it about this that's driving these women bonkers, just batty, right? They're just running all over themselves to get this. I wasn't going to buy the books because I have more respect for myself than that. But it was interesting because my neighbor and my ex-wife are friends, and just so happens one day the stepdad was coming over to pick my kids up, and he handed me the first 2 installments. And they're like, such and such, you know, she's going to give these to her. Will you give them to her? And I'm just like, oh, the mother load. So I literally run in the house. I close the doors, pull the shades. I'm like, I'm going to spend the next 30, 40 minutes figuring out what it is about these books that are driving these women nuts. At the end of the day, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy is really about one thing. Hope. Hope. Now people are like, so what the hell does that mean? Yes, hope. So I know enough about the book to at least have a basic conversation about it. So, you know, Grey, Christian Grey, right? You know, the 22-year-old billionaire who whatever, he's a complete train wreck. His life is an utter disaster on epically, right? His personal life, you know, he doesn't know how to equate love in any other way except some sort of physical. And so this girl comes into the picture, right? What's her name?
Anastasia.
That's right, Anastasia.
Anna.
And for the, you know, the better part of the book, it's like she's trying to get him, as she puts it, to come out of the darkness. That's what she says.
Yeah.
At the end of the first book, when she walks out of the house, he's beat the crap out of her or something. She walks out of the house and she's like, I thought I could bring my 50 Shades into the light. And I'm like, there it is. That's the deal.
It was interesting because I don't have a chance very often to pleasure read. And I happened to have been away and I thought I didn't realize it was a trilogy. So I had the first one. I picked up the first one, and I read it. And, of course, you know, the sex is great. You know, it's like middle-aged porn.
Back up. Okay, the sex may be great, but it's so unrealistic, Laura, it makes me want to throw up. Come on. I mean, she's never been kissed, right? She's never even had a guy cop a feel, but yet the very first night, right out the gates, the best she's ever had. Compared to what?
Right.
What have you ever compared it to, honey? Watching something on television? But go ahead.
Okay, so, but here's what I think happens. I think, and this is, you know, first of all, I read that one, and then I was like, oh my God, it's a trilogy, so I had to go out and buy the other 2, and I steamrolled through those in like 4 days. And I tried to take from it what I took from it, what I thought maybe underlying all the other, unrealistic, everything, unrealistic and exaggerated in every conceivable way. But I think it touched upon things that are going on that you and I talk about in our respective businesses and our blogs all the time, which, yes, the sex was totally ridiculous. Of course, that was never going to happen for anybody anywhere. However, for those who've been maybe married for 30 years or 25 years and they haven't, I mean, it's the same thing in the same way every single night or maybe every 10th night. I think it touched upon like, holy shit, I've forgotten what that's like.
Whoa. Okay. Here's what I don't understand. It seems that all of a sudden, thanks to this book, that bondage and this BDSM has all of a sudden come out into the mainstream. What a load of bullshit. Everybody's known about this for years, all right? For hundreds of years, women and men have, at periods of time, treated each other like sexual slaves. So this is nothing new. So I don't know if I buy into this notion that these women who, to your point, are like sexually frustrated, they read the books and they went over, oh, Henry, look at all the shit we can now do.
That happened. It's that by the third book and through the continuum of the trilogy, it was, they eventually found a way to integrate this edgy, not really, the full bondage submissive thing into...
Edgy? Oh, that is so politically correct. He was a freak show. He's an absolute, utter freak show.
He's a freak show. Of course he's a freak show.
So there's nothing edgy about that.
No, but for us here, sitting out here, it's possible. I really do think a lot of people were like, I want me just a little bit of that. Just a little bit.
I
want a bedroom.
Okay, that's a good point. Hang on. A little bit of what specifically?
A little bit of the edgy. I want a little ass spanking. I don't want to be beaten, but maybe just a little bit of ass spanking might work. I think for some, they thought, what can I do? What can work for Henry and I? There might be possibility. So when you say like there's hope, I do think that people, it became, okay, listen, I was on a beach. I was on vacation reading it, and I was sitting on a beach. Every single person on the beach was reading it, for God's sake. I mean, it clearly tapped into something everybody's missing. And I know for me, I'll go out on a limb, but for me, like after my divorce, I wanted a little something back in my life, a little bit of excitement. I wanted a little bit of edgy back. And I hadn't had that, and it wasn't part of, really my world, my marriage. We were very, nice house, white picket fence, doing the country club kind of thing. And I came out of it and like this, I wanted that love and feeling back. And I think during the summer, I think people, this book, this trilogy tapped into some of that.
This is what I was going to write and I didn't.
Ooh.
What does it say about the guy whose wife or significant other is reading that? Because here's my logic, and I wrote this. Fantasy,
mm-hmm.
all right, is I wish I had the words. Is, in other words, it's it's a mental fulfillment of an unmet reality. All right?
Okay.
So that's what fantasy is, right? Fantasy
Correct.
is thinking about something that you currently don't have, right?
Okay.
What should or what could or what did it say to the men whose wives became so enthralled in that thing? What does it say about him? Because, to your point, you said, I want me a little some of that. All right? I'm using your words. I want me a little some of that. A little some of what? A little some of just the sex, or a little some of what Christian brings to the table, be it money, wealth, looks, attention? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Yes, he does adore her in whatever effed up sense that he can. You know,
Right.
some sort of stalk, but he is also a stalker.
It just was a really big exaggeration. I think if you take away the exaggeration from it, there are things there that are actually you can get from the book. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Yeah.
They were glorifying that, though. They were glorifying those very things you're talking about.
Correct.
So, I don't know. I mean, I guess back to my point, though, and I'll let you finish. What does it say to the guy, though? Fortunately, thank the Lord, the queen never read it. She doesn't want to. I got to be frank. I'd be a little concerned if she was. That's just my personal take on it. Because, I mean, it goes back to that. It's no different. It's no different, Laura, than porn. There's no difference in porn. There's not. You can't tell me that a guy who doesn't surf the internet looking at porn, right, doesn't close that laptop, look at his wife, and think, God, I wish she was like the woman I just saw on screen. You can't tell me that. Because I know. I've been there.
I'm not sure it says anything about the man. It says equally as much about the woman as it would about the man.
And what would that be?
That it takes two to kind of... It took Christian Grey initiating, right? Okay, forget about the exaggeration, forget about all the craziness that he is. And it took her saying, okay, I'll try some, but not all. I want some, but not all. And somehow they found a middle ground. Now, put the book aside for a second. That happens in real relationships where, you know, you got to have a little bit of a give and take. So it's not just that someone has to initiate, it's that someone also has to be open and meet you halfway there and kind of jump in there with you.
See, I don't think that at the end of the day it had anything to do with the sex. That trilogy, I don't know. I've never heard the author. I don't think it had anything to do with the sex.
I agree.
I think, frankly, I think it was a story about a girl who used her love and devotion to change one of the most screwed up individuals you'll ever read about. I think that's what it was about at the end of the day. And I'll tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine who read all three of the books, and I asked her, I go, what is it that you think that drives women to reading these books? And she goes, it's hope. If Anastasia can fix, her words, fix someone as screwed up as Christian Grey, there's hope for all of us.
So interesting. Because she didn't fix him.
Oh, how do you think, what do you mean? She won the mother load. She won the lottery, pulled the thing, 777s. She won the whole deal. Now, I mean, they're married, loaded, traveling all over the world, and he's utterly and completely devoted to her. What woman in her right mind doesn't want that?
At the very most shallow level, people said, I can have me some of that right here in my marriage, right here in my relationship. I hadn't really thought about it. I never would have thought about it, but I'm reading about it. It seems to be okay. Everybody's talking about it. It seems to be okay with everyone.
But if it seemed to be okay, then why was so many women hiding the fact that they were reading it? And they were. And you know that. Most of the sales are on Kindles for obvious reasons.
Yeah, hiding it, like covering it with a book cover so nobody knows.
Absolutely.
I think it made people very uncomfortable. It's I do think it made. I had women who wrote, made comments to my blog post about how could Laura, I thought you were one way and now you're writing about this and this is just the most abusive, he's so abusive. How could you even have read this? Like crazy, crazy angry. I didn't find it abusive. I think it is a fetish. Is that what one calls it? I mean, there is this whole fetish thing that, yes, it's not for me, but again, is a little ass spanking, bondage.
This is a rated PG show, Laura.
You know what I'm saying, though? Where does it go from being like, okay, that could be fun, with my husband or my man, to, okay, this is a freak show and I'm not signing any contract so he can do that.
Okay, well, we'll have to take this because we're about to run out of time. However, here's one thing that I think that it does signal to guys. It really sends mixed signals to a dude, all right? And I'll leave it at this, all right? I think that universally speaking, women want the white knight. They want the man to be devoted, to be caring, to caress, to hold them when they need to be held, to console them when they need to be consoled, right? So they want this. And there are guys out there that want to be that person. Granted, there's maybe fewer of them out there than, but there are guys out there that want that, right?
Okay.
You totally throw us for a loop when you start reading books about guys beating shit out of his girlfriend and saying, well, maybe I want a little some of that. Whoa, I just had an aneurysm. Because where does the guy draw the line between being the white knight, right, and being gag ball guy?
We don't mean to throw you for a loop. We really don't mean, and we don't want to be beaten, but we might want a little ass spanking.
Listen, all right. So I want to finish this conversation next week because the question that I really I want to know about this. All right. Here's what I put in. Here's one of the things that I put in. We'll leave it at that. Granted, the sex, the carnal pleasure drew the women in. But I said at the beginning of this, I said at the end of the day, it was hope, right? Do you think that when the final chapter closed and they rolled off into the sunset together, it gave women in bad relationships, because there seems to be the premise out there that really the women in the bad relationships and the bad marriages were out buying this stuff, right? Do you think it gives them a false sense of hope that they too can fix their man? That's the question. You can think about that till next week.
Excellent. I'm going to have to think on that.
All right. Well, Laura, I'm glad you're back from vacation. Laura, until next week, we'll see you.